Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about the three divine laws that command money to appear. You see, God's universe is not a place of lack, but of endless supply. Every star in the heavens, every grain of sand on the shore, every drop of rain that falls from the sky, each one declares the abundance of the Creator. And just as nature never withholds its gifts, so the divine law never withholds its blessings from those who understand and obey it. We often think that money comes from toil alone, from endless striving and anxious effort. But the truth, God's truth, is that money is but a symbol, a servant of the higher spiritual laws. When we align our words, our thoughts, and our faith with these laws, supply rushes in, often in ways beyond human reason. Just as the sun rises without fail, these divine laws operate with unfailing precision. It is not chance, it is not luck, it is law. Today, we will uncover the three divine principles that unlock the storehouse of heaven and cause the channels of supply to open wide. And when you apply them, not once, not twice, but as a way of living, you will see money appear in your life in right and perfect ways, without struggle, without fear, and without doubt, because you will know it is your divine inheritance. The law of the spoken word is one of the most powerful spiritual forces in the universe. For it is through the word that creation begins. In the book of Genesis, we read that God spoke, and the world was formed. Light came because it was spoken into being. Life emerged because it was declared with divine authority. We, being made in the image and likeness of God, have been given this same creative power in our words. Every statement we make, every phrase we utter, carries within it the seed of creation. When we speak of abundance, prosperity, and supply, we set into motion invisible forces that bring those very things into our experience. When we speak of lack, poverty, or struggle, we equally set in motion the forces that bring those conditions to pass. The universe hears and obeys the command, without judgment or question, for it is bound by law to reproduce in our world the substance of our words. People often underestimate the weight of their casual statements. They say, "I can't afford this," or "money never stays with me," and then wonder why their finances remain in turmoil. They do not realize that every time they speak such words, they are issuing a decree to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, connected to the great universal mind, goes forth to fulfill that decree. This is not superstition, it is law. Words are vibratory in nature, and each carries a frequency that aligns with a particular reality. To continually speak of lack is to continually invite lack. To continually speak of abundance is to continually invite abundance. The choice lies with the speaker, and the law is impartial. It will produce exactly what is ordered. Florence Scovel Shinn often said that your word is your wand, and with it you can carve out any destiny you desire. This wand does not work when waved in hesitation or fear. It works when wielded with absolute faith, conviction, and clarity. When a person says, "I am rich in divine substance, and money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways," and speaks it as a truth already accomplished, the words carry the authority of creation. The more this is spoken with feeling and belief, the more the outer world will rearrange itself to match the decree. The law demands harmony between the inner word and the outer experience. The word is the blueprint, the world is the manifestation. Even the silence of thought is a form of the spoken word. For what we continually think, we are inwardly speaking. Many imagine they can speak positively for a few moments a day, but spend the rest of the hours in worry, and still reap abundance. This cannot be so. The subconscious takes every word, whether outwardly spoken or inwardly thought, and treats it as an order. This is why the law of the spoken word is not a temporary practice, but a continual discipline. You must guard your words as you would guard your most precious treasures, for indeed they are. They are the treasures from which all else is built. The spoken word also sets the tone for the spiritual atmosphere around you. Words of praise, joy, and gratitude create a magnetic field that attracts good. Words of complaint, doubt, and criticism create a field that repels good. Just as a seed planted in fertile soil grows quickly and abundantly, so do words planted in the fertile soil of faith. And just as a seed planted in poor soil struggles or dies, so do words planted in fear and unbelief. You cannot expect a harvest of abundance from seeds of lack. The law of the spoken word is at work whether or not you believe in it, just as gravity operates, whether or not you acknowledge it. This is why careless words can be so destructive. They are orders given to the universe without conscious intention. The wise man or woman learns to speak deliberately, to choose words that align with the divine truth of abundance, to call forth supply as naturally as breathing. Speaking wealth into existence is not forcing money to appear. It is aligning your spoken decree with the spiritual law that already governs supply. When the inner word and divine law are in harmony, manifestation is certain. It is important to understand that the law does not respond to empty repetition or vain affirmations spoken without conviction. Saying, "I am prosperous," while inwardly feeling unworthy or doubtful will not yield results, for the vibration of the doubt cancels the vibration of the word. The power lies in speaking as though the thing desired is already yours, with a certainty that comes from knowing that divine supply is limitless and ever present. Your words should carry the tone of someone who has already received, not someone who is begging to receive. The universe does not respond to pleading, it responds to command. And a true command is spoken with the authority of faith. The law of the spoken word is also deeply connected to gratitude. To speak in gratitude for what you have not yet seen is to plant a seed that must bear fruit. Gratitude-infused words are like sunlight to the seed of desire. They warm it, nourish it, and cause it to grow. Saying, "I am so grateful that divine wealth flows to me now," opens the way for that wealth to come, because it assumes the reality of the blessing before it has appeared in form. Faith speaks as if the blessing is already present, and the law fulfills that assumption. Would you like me to now expand keynote, no point to zikrs in the same tone and depth, so it continues seamlessly. The law of faith is the invisible foundation upon which all visible manifestations rest, for without faith, even the most powerful words lose their creative force. Faith is the unwavering knowing that what you have spoken and believed is already accomplished in the unseen, regardless of appearances in the seen. It is the refusal to be swayed by delay, contradiction, or lack of evidence. Faith looks beyond the immediate circumstance and beholds the finished work, trusting that divine law cannot fail. Just as a seed planted in the soil begins its growth unseen beneath the surface, so does the seed of your desire begin to take form the moment you plant it in faith. You do not dig up the seed each day to check if it is growing, you water it, you nurture it, and you trust that in due season, the harvest will appear. Faith is not mere hope, for hope still allows room for doubt. Faith is certainty, and certainty is magnetic. When you prepare for something in faith, you signal to the universe that you fully expect its arrival. This is why faith without preparation is incomplete. It is like saying you expect rain but never carrying an umbrella. When you act as though the blessing is inevitable, you are aligning your actions with your belief, and this alignment sends a clear and powerful message to the unseen forces at work. The spiritual law cannot resist a clear signal, for clarity is the language it understands. Many people believe they have faith, but in truth, they have conditional faith. They believe only if the signs are favorable, or only if the evidence already appears. True faith holds its course when all appearances suggest the opposite. It does not retreat when the outer world whispers, "It's not working." It stands firm, declaring, "It is already done," and continues to act accordingly. This steadfastness is what causes the unseen to crystallize into the seen. When the wind is against you, when the circumstances seem barren, faith is the invisible bridge that carries you over the gap between desire and fulfillment. Faith is deeply tied to imagination, for what you vividly imagine with belief becomes your reality. The mind cannot hold a clear image infused with faith and not bring it into manifestation. This is why the scriptures say, Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is substance. It is the spiritual material from which form is shaped. The moment you see it inwardly with full conviction, it begins to gather substance in the outer world. Without faith, the image dissolves before it can take form, for doubt acts like a corrosive acid that eats away at the structure being built in the unseen. Faith also has the power to neutralize fear, for fear is simply faith in the wrong direction. Faith in what you do not want. When you give your belief and energy to worry, you are still exercising the law of faith, but you are using it to bring about the very thing you dread. The wise soul redirects this power toward the good, refusing to give life to negative images or destructive expectations. Instead, they feed their faith with words of truth, affirmations of abundance, and mental pictures of desired outcomes, until these are more real to them than any outer condition. Acting in faith often means moving before you see the way. It means taking steps that your reasoning mind cannot fully justify, but that your inner knowing confirms. This is not recklessness, it is alignment with divine prompting. When guided by faith, the path often unfolds one step at a time, and each step taken in obedience to that inner assurance opens the way for the next. Just as a lamp lights only a few feet ahead in the darkness, faith lights enough for you to move forward, and as you move, more light appears. Faith is also a protective force. It shields the mind from the arrows of doubt and the chatter of those who cannot see what you see. When you hold faith, you are standing in a higher vibration where fear cannot dwell. It is like an anchor in the unseen that holds you steady, no matter how turbulent the waters become. Even when appearances are entirely contrary, faith keeps you centered, because it knows that the spiritual law works in perfection and cannot be overturned by temporary conditions. To live by the law of faith is to see with the eyes of the Spirit rather than the eyes of the flesh. It is to call things that are not yet visible as though they already were, and to do so with such assurance that your words and actions are consistent with that unseen reality. Faith is not blind. It sees more clearly than physical sight, for it beholds the eternal truth rather than the passing shadow. It is the substance that transforms the invisible into the visible, the unseen promise into the tangible blessing, and the dream into lived experience. The law of giving and receiving is the divine circulation of supply, a rhythm as certain and constant as the ebb and flow of the tides. Just as the ocean cannot remain full without pouring its waters upon the shore, so the channels of your own abundance cannot remain open without release. Many seek to draw in blessings while keeping a tight grip on what they already have. But this grasping attitude is born of fear, and fear shuts the door to increase. Giving is the visible evidence of an inward trust that there is always more, that the source of supply is infinite and cannot be exhausted. When you give freely and joyfully, you signal to the universe that you understand this truth, and the universe responds by sending more to fill the space you have created. This law operates on every level of life, not only with money. When you give encouragement, you receive encouragement in return. When you give time, friendship, or skill, these same qualities return to you multiplied. But in the realm of money, the truth of this law becomes especially clear, for money is a symbol of energy in motion. If it is held in fear, it becomes stagnant. If it is allowed to circulate, it gains life. Giving is not loss. It is investment into the boundless storehouse of the divine, where no seed goes unnoticed and no act of generosity returns void. Many misunderstand giving as a depletion of resources, as though they are sending away a portion of their limited store. But to those who live under divine law, giving is an act of alignment, not subtraction. It is a declaration that you are not dependent on the thing you hold in your hand, but on the infinite source from which it came. You are not relying on the coin, but on the wellspring that produces coins without end. The moment you release with a willing heart, you make space for the greater good that is seeking to reach you. Just as a farmer must release the seed into the ground to receive the harvest, so you must release what you have in order to receive more. Giving must be done in the right spirit, for the law is not moved by reluctant offerings or by giving in fear. If you give grudgingly, you plant a seed in poor soil, and the return will be weak. True giving flows from joy and gratitude, from the recognition that you are a channel of the divine supply. You do not give to manipulate the universe or to force a return. You give because giving is your nature as an expression of God's abundance. And in giving, you are automatically placing yourself in the current of receiving. This law also teaches that withholding in fear leads to the very lack one is trying to avoid. The miser who hoards his coins for fear of losing them creates a mental atmosphere of limitation, and this atmosphere repels increase. The generous soul who releases what they have with gladness creates an atmosphere of expansion, and expansion attracts more. It is not the size of the gift that determines the return, but the faith and love with which it is given. A small coin given in faith opens the door wider than a fortune given with reluctance. The law of giving and receiving works best when practiced consistently, not as an occasional gesture. Regular, intentional giving keeps the channels of supply open and flowing. This is why many who live in abundance make giving a habit. Whether it is a tithe, a gift, or an act of service, because they understand that the more they allow the flow to move through them, the more it will move toward them. The stream that flows continually stays fresh, the stream that is dammed grows stagnant. Receiving is as important as giving. For there are those who give freely but refuse to receive, and in doing so, they block the law. To reject a blessing is to interrupt the current, just as refusing to breathe in after breathing out would stop the flow of life. Humble and joyful receiving is an acknowledgement that the divine has answered your giving, and that you are worthy of the return. When you receive with gratitude, you complete the circuit, and the energy flows back into giving again, keeping the rhythm alive. The law is precise. It returns to you multiplied what you have sent out, though not always through the same channel. You may give money to one person and receive money from another. You may give encouragement to a friend and receive a financial opportunity from a stranger. The form may change, but the essence is the same. What you release in faith and joy cannot fail to come back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. To practice this law consciously is to live in a state of continual increase. Each act of giving becomes a seed planted in the garden of your future blessings. Each act of receiving is a reminder that the divine supply is alive and active in your life. You are both the sower and the reaper, and the harvest will always reflect the nature of the seed you have sown. The law of expectancy is the magnetic force of the mind that draws to you the very conditions you anticipate, for expectation is faith in motion. What you truly expect, whether good or bad, sets in motion the unseen arrangements that shape your experience. To expect is to prepare inwardly and outwardly for what is to come, and by this preparation, you affirm that you believe the outcome is certain. The person who expects blessings rises each morning with an inner readiness, as if the delivery of their good is already on its way. Their words, their demeanor, and even their smallest actions reflect this anticipation, and the universe responds in kind. Expectancy is not wishful thinking. It is a confident assurance born from the knowledge that divine law cannot fail to fulfill what is held in unwavering expectation. Your mind is like a receiving station, constantly tuning in to the frequency of what you believe will happen. If you tune to fear and doubt, you will find yourself meeting conditions that match those vibrations. If you tune to confidence and anticipation of good, you will find opportunities, ideas, and resources arriving in perfect order. Many fail to realize that they are expecting misfortune simply because they are bracing themselves for it. They check for problems, prepare for lack, and watch for disappointment. And in doing so, they send a clear signal to the unseen forces that this is the outcome they are ready to receive. The law is impartial. It brings you what you are prepared for, whether in joy or in dread. Expectancy is a living energy, and like all energies, it seeks expression. When you expect something, You begin to act as though it were already true. You make room for it in your life. You speak about it as though it were on its way. You arrange your affairs with the confidence that it will arrive. This is why preparation is such a powerful companion to expectation. When you prepare for a thing, you demonstrate your belief in it. A person who expects a guest makes ready the house. A person who expects a harvest readies the barn. To expect wealth while preparing for lack is to send mixed signals, and the universe responds to the stronger of the two. The spiritual law responds quickly to clear and consistent expectation, because it is the mental equivalent of planting a seed and tending to it daily. The clearer the expectation, the more direct the manifestation. Vague, half-hearted expectations produce vague, uncertain results. To say, something good might happen, is to plant a weak seed, but to declare, this specific blessing is already on its way to me, and to expect it with certainty, is to plant a strong seed in fertile soil. The strength of your expectation determines the strength of the result. There is a discipline to expectancy, for the outer world often attempts to contradict it. You may expect a financial blessing, and yet see no sign of it in your current circumstances. This is the moment when many abandon their expectation, believing that the lack of visible evidence means the law is not working. In truth, it is in these moments that expectation is most needed, for it holds the vision steady while the unseen arrangements are being made. Expectancy keeps the door open for the good to enter, while doubt closes it. The law of expectancy also works in subtle and unexpected ways. Often the blessing does not come in the exact form you imagined, but it comes in the form that best fulfills your need. This is why it is wise to hold expectation for the essence of what you desire, rather than limiting it to a specific form. Expect financial increase, but allow the divine to determine how it arrives. Expect opportunities, but allow them to come from channels you may not have considered. Trust that the essence of your expectation will be fulfilled in the highest and most perfect way. When you live in expectancy, you carry yourself differently. There is a light in your eyes, a readiness in your spirit, and a calm confidence in your words. Others may sense it without understanding why, and opportunities may be drawn to you simply because your energy declares that you are ready. Expectancy is magnetic to both people and circumstances, for it signals that you are a prepared vessel for the blessing. Just as rain seeks the open vessel, so blessings seek the open heart that is ready to receive. This law does not require strain or constant effort. It is not about forcing an outcome through willpower, but about resting in the assurance that the outcome is already decided in your favor. You expect, because you know the character of the divine is one of abundance and generosity. You expect because you understand that the same law that causes the sun to rise and the seasons to change also governs your supply. And just as you do not wonder if the sun will rise tomorrow, you do not wonder if your good will come. It is simply the nature of things that it must arrive. The law of divine order is the assurance that everything unfolds in perfect sequence, according to the highest good, and that nothing in your life arrives too soon or too late. Just as the planets move in their appointed paths, just as the tides follow the pull of the moon, so your blessings follow a divinely orchestrated timetable. This law reminds you that there is no need to force, rush, or manipulate circumstances, for the divine has already arranged the steps that lead to your fulfillment. Each event, each connection, each opportunity arrives at the precise moment when it can serve you best, even if that moment does not match your personal schedule. Trusting this law brings peace in the waiting and confidence in the receiving, for you understand that delay is not denial. It is preparation. In divine order, there is an invisible alignment happening behind the scenes. Resources are being moved into place, people are being guided toward you, and pathways are being cleared. What appears to be stillness or stagnation is often the silent arrangement of the conditions necessary for your good to manifest without obstruction. Many miss their blessings because they lose patience and act out of desperation, seizing a lesser good rather than waiting for the perfect one. When you understand divine order, you release the need to grasp and instead allow the greater plan to unfold, knowing that what is meant for you cannot be withheld. This law also teaches that obstacles and detours are not interruptions to your path, but integral parts of it. A delay may redirect you to a greater opportunity than the one you were pursuing. A closed door may be protecting you from a premature step that would have hindered your growth. Divine order arranges not only the blessings, but also the lessons, so that you arrive at your desired outcome fully equipped to handle it. Without the preparation of character, wisdom, and faith, even the right blessing could become a burden. The divine does not deliver fruit before it is ripe, nor send the harvest before the soil has been prepared to receive it. To live by this law is to cultivate patience as a form of faith. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active trust. It is the decision to remain in peace, to keep taking inspired steps, and to hold the vision steady, even when the outer picture seems unchanged. Divine order often works in ways that the reasoning mind cannot grasp, arranging events through connections and timings far beyond human planning. What seems like a coincidence is often the precise unfolding of this law, bringing together the right people at the right time for the right purpose. When you trust divine order, you stop comparing your timeline to that of others. The blessings of another do not diminish your own, for each person's path is uniquely arranged. Just as one flower blooms in spring and another in autumn, so each life blossoms in its own appointed season. Trying to force a spring blossom in winter will only damage the plant. In the same way, trying to force your blessings before their season will only cause strain and disappointment. The law works perfectly when you allow it to work in its own time. Divine order also governs the release of what is no longer meant for you. Sometimes the removal of certain people, possessions, or opportunities feels like loss, but in truth, it is the clearing away of what would block the arrival of something greater. Holding on to what has served its purpose disrupts the natural flow, while letting go creates space for the new. This is why trust is so essential. Trust that nothing is taken without being replaced by something better. Trust that the empty space is not a void, but a vessel waiting to be filled. The rhythm of divine order is not hurried, yet it is never late. It moves with the precision of the seasons, the unfolding of a flower, the hatching of an egg. Each step of your journey is purposeful, even when you cannot see its purpose in the moment. Looking back, you may recognize how one event led to another in ways you could never have orchestrated yourself. The divine sees the whole picture. You see only the piece before you. Faith in this law means trusting the picture, even when the piece in your hand seems incomplete. When you align with divine order, you no longer feel the frantic urge to control every detail. You become receptive, alert, and ready to act when the right moment arrives. You know that the law will present opportunities without strain, and that when the door opens, you will walk through it with confidence because you have been prepared for that exact step. Divine order removes the anxiety of what if and replaces it with the assurance of when. For you know the timing is as perfect as the blessing itself. The law of gratitude is the multiplying force that turns the seed of your blessings into a rich harvest. For whatever you praise and give thanks for expands in your life. Gratitude is more than polite manners or a fleeting emotional response. It is a deep spiritual acknowledgement of the good that is already present, both seen and unseen. When you give thanks before the blessing is visible, you are declaring your faith in the divine supply and affirming that it is already yours in the unseen. This vibration of praise sends a signal to the universe that you recognize abundance as your rightful inheritance, and the universe responds by sending more for you to acknowledge. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present, from lack to plenty. It aligns your mind with the frequency of abundance, for you cannot be truly grateful and truly fearful at the same time. Fear constricts, gratitude expands. Fear doubts the flow, gratitude trusts it. The moment you enter into sincere thanksgiving, You open the channels for greater good to flow into your experience. Just as a grateful receiver encourages a giver to give again, so the divine is moved to pour more into the life of the one who praises what has been given. This law works equally for the small and the great. The one who is thankful for the smallest coin will find larger sums coming to them, while the one who dismisses small blessings as insignificant closes the door to greater ones. Gratitude honors the seed as much as the harvest, knowing that the seed contains the potential for the harvest within it. When you receive even the slightest evidence of good, a kind word, an unexpected gift, an encouraging sign, pause to give thanks, for in doing so, you water the seed and speed its growth. Gratitude also works as a corrective force for the mind. In moments of doubt or disappointment, turning to thanksgiving shifts the mental atmosphere instantly. Instead of rehearsing the story of lack, you begin rehearsing the story of abundance. Instead of speaking of what is missing, you begin speaking of what is present and what is promised. This shift not only changes your mood, but alters the vibration you send out, attracting more of the very things you are praising. You become a magnet for good because you are continually acknowledging good. To live by the law of gratitude is to make thanksgiving a daily practice, not just an occasional response to an obvious blessing. It means waking in the morning with words of thanks for the day ahead, even before you know what it will bring. It means blessing your work, your home, your relationships, and even the challenges, and knowing that each is part of your divine unfolding. It means closing the day in gratitude for all that has occurred, trusting that every event has moved you closer to your highest good. The habit of gratitude becomes a lens through which you see the world, and through that lens, the world reflects more beauty and abundance back to you. Gratitude is a creative force because it affirms possession. When you give thanks for something you desire before it arrives, you are acting in alignment with the spiritual truth that it already exists in the invisible realm. This act of thanksgiving pulls the blessing from the unseen into the seen, because it treats the desire as fulfilled. The mind that is grateful in advance is living in the reality of the answered prayer, and the law must produce that reality in form. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn taught that praise precedes the victory. This law also teaches that ingratitude repels blessings. When you focus only on what is missing, you are sending a signal of dissatisfaction and lack, which closes the channels of supply. Complaining, criticizing, and resenting the present conditions are forms of ungratefulness that block the flow of good. Even in difficult circumstances, there is always something to praise. The strength to endure, the lessons being learned, the support of others. And by focusing on these, you keep the door open for the situation to improve. Gratitude creates a state of receptivity, for it softens the heart and quiets the restless mind. In a grateful state, you are more attuned to notice opportunities, to recognize the answers to your prayers, and to receive with grace what is given. You are not grasping or forcing, you are allowing. This allowing is what makes gratitude such a powerful companion to the other divine laws. It completes the circuit. Words spoken in faith, actions taken in expectancy, and blessings given in generosity all find their fullest expression when they are wrapped in thanksgiving. To practice this law is to speak words of gratitude aloud and often, to write them, to meditate on them, and to feel them deeply. It is to turn your attention daily toward the abundance that is already present, and to treat every manifestation, no matter how small, as a reason for praise. The law of gratitude ensures that as you bless what you have, you will have more to bless, and as you praise what is unseen, it will come forth into sight